When people ask me what my favorite game of all time is, a few games come to mind. The OG Battlefront 2, Skyrim, God of War, and Budokai Tenkaichi 3. As a kid whose family could barely afford one new game a year, this one was at the top of the list back in 2007. And I didn't stop playing it until we nearly cracked the disc from inserting it into that shitty old PlayStation 2 Slim disc tray. So I have a lot of nostalgia, love, and bias towards this game. But in this video, I'm going to do my best to strip away that bias and assess it more fairly. Having just replayed the game all the way through, it's not perfect, and in fact there's a lot more issues than I remember. Probably because as a kid I didn't care. And to be honest, I still don't care. But regardless, let me earn a bit of ad revenue and review one of the most beloved Dragon Ball games, Budokai Tenkaichi 3. I'm going to switch the order up here to how I've reviewed the previous two games, and start with the story mode, because oh boy do I have a lot to say here. Now I don't even have to compare the story mode to Tenkaichi 2 to showcase how poorly made it is here. I had rose-tinted glasses looking back at the story mode because I remember it being pretty good, until I replayed it all the way through. They opted to abandon the flying around the map feature that was loved by so many in the previous game for a more streamlined approach where you simply pick a saga, pick a fight, get a short narration setting the scene, get some dialogue, then enter the battle, which gives you the option to either follow the original story by clicking a prompt to enact a canon event, or just win the fight your own way. I do like this idea, and the execution of following the canon sequence of events by clicking button prompts is done fairly well. I love how you can prompt the game to force a beam struggle as Goku versus Vegeta, or prompt Piccolo to finish Raditz with a special beam cannon. Before you start the story mode, however, Goku tells you that you can either recreate their experiences or fight your own battles, which would suggest that not following the story mode would yield some interesting different results, or branching dialogue, or perhaps even branching fights, which is not the case. If you choose to ignore the prompts and beat Nappa STN, for example, you'll just get his normal victory screen dialogue.
Phew, that could have gone either way.
And that's it. So it doesn't provide much incentive to ignore the story's main path. I would have been happy with even one unique line from Chaozu yelling, "Yay, Tien, you did it!" But this just seems a bit lazy. Don't include the option to ignore the story if you're not going to do anything with it. But okay. Aside from that, how's the dialogue and cutscenes when you do follow the story as intended? Pretty dry. Every single cutscene in the game is just two characters standing still and talking, with some characters speaking out of thin air when required, because they couldn't fit more than two characters in the cutscenes apparently. It makes for some awkward pauses in the dialogue, especially when things are supposed to be intense.
Wait! Goku's doing something!
Now there were two games that came out each of the previous 2 years with story modes of their own, so maybe at this point they didn't feel the need to properly explain the story and the context of each and every fight. Fine, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt on that one. Maybe they assumed people know the story by now and just want to do the fights. But the problem is, they skip so many fights in the story mode. Example, the Frieza saga starts with the Raccoon fight. No Zarbon, no Dodoria, not even Goldo. The Android saga skips the fights against all the androids, no Gotenks or Ultimate Gohan fights in the Buu arc, and just many more missing fights that just disappointed me. I don't know why I remember the story mode so fondly. I'm fine with them streamlining the story mode and getting rid of some needless fights, like how in the Frieza saga when you fight as Frieza, all the fights against Gohan, Piccolo, Vegeta, and Krillin are combined into one scenario where you transform throughout the battle. That's done great, but then they misuse this sometimes. Like in the GT saga, each saga is basically one fight. So the Baby and Super 17 fights are extremely congested and skip most of the fights in that arc. Goku isn't even supposed to beat Super 17 as a Super Saiyan 4, but he does here. So it's inconsistent even with the fights that are included on how well it's put together. Also, in order to add some more context to the fights, they've introduced dialogue whilst you're fighting, and it's a nice addition. Makes it feel a bit more like the anime. Though there are some random ass lines that don't fit what's happening at all. Like Krillin multiple times in different story scenarios will just yell, "Wow, to be able to match me in skill." Or whilst fighting Metal Cooler, Goku will randomly yell,
How was I to know
it was broken!
Like, what the fuck are you talking about, Goku? Or in the Hirudegarn pre-fight narration, Piccolo just randomly ad-libs Hirudegarn whilst the narrator's talking.
To stop Hirudegarn from destroying the town.
And I'd be remiss not to mention Upa's phenomenal, heart-wrenching response to Goku when he's told that he'll wish his father back to life.
Okay.
Now that is some grade A acting right there. And it's not just that moment. So much of the post-fight dialogue is just lackluster. Though nothing else gets quite that bad. Okay, so it sounds like I absolutely hate this story mode so far. And you wouldn't be completely wrong. Hate is a strong word, but I don't like it, and I think it's lazy. But what do I like? Actually, you know what a better question might be? What do you like? Let me know down below what you like about the story mode that maybe I'm not about to mention. Oh yeah, and like the video too, that would really help me out. So, like I said before, the dialogue during the fights and the prompts to follow along the story are enjoyable. And when done well, you can find some really nice scenarios where things play out just like the anime, and you feel like you're living in the show. The Goku vs Vegeta fight is a good example of this, as well as the Nappa fight where he plays the Z Fighters, and can barely put a dent in the big guy until Goku shows up. Also, I like how anytime you lose a fight, Hercule pops up. That's great. Hercule stood next to the word best befitting of him. Then there's this camera work in some scenes that isn't actually good, it's just hilarious. They really thought they were doing something here. But I tell you where they were doing something. The teleport clashes in the story mode are so cool. They're far and few between, but it's such a dope combat feature that I'm sad it's exclusive to the story mode. Also, when you finish a saga, the character that guided you in the saga will talk to the character that's going to guide you in the next one. And there's some unique dialogue here that's a fun little treat.
Yeah, so? Get lost.
He's different from what Mom told me. He's totally evil.
Goku will also talk to them in the menu screen after you finish a saga, and it's enjoyable. Though I have to mention how it's a little inconsistent because he talks as if he's Goku from the Frieza saga. He knows Vegeta and Piccolo, but doesn't recognize Krillin with hair or know who Pan is, but then he does know who the Supreme Kai is. So kinda weird. But you only get these interactions one time playing through the entire game, so if you want to see them again, you gotta restart the game all over again from scratch. Now, gathering the Dragon Balls is a lot better in this game. You no longer have to manually pick them up, which I found a bit frustrating in the previous games. If you just break the building that it's in, you automatically get it. And they copied the look of the Shenron system from the previous game, but hey, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And they also threw in Red Shenron, which is cool. And kudos to them for finally adding some goddamn Dragon Ball story to one of these games. It was about time. There's also a total of 4 what-ifs in this game, a couple of which are cool. The Saiyan revolt against Frieza's army, including King Vegeta, is good, and it's cool to see Goku vs Sarale because it's Toriyama's 2 main characters. But then there's rough ones like Devilman killing Mecha Frieza and King Cold, which would be good if you didn't repeat the same line over and over again.
Bad end.
But they don't really flesh out the what-ifs here and write too much for them. There's just a few lines of dialogue here and there and one scenario for each of them. All in all, I have to say after replaying the entire story mode, which only took me about 5 or 6 hours, I felt that they left a lot to be desired here. And their approach to streamline the story mode just made it come across as lazy, especially when paired with the little mistakes sprinkled throughout the mode. Luckily, whilst I feel that the story mode fumbled the bag, they did not fumble the bag on the combat. Unlike the jump from Tenkaichi 1 to Tenkaichi 2, where they only really added or changed a couple of things, here in Tenkaichi 3 they actually removed some things from the previous game. For example, they removed the left-right guarding so now you can only guard up or down or in front. A strange choice that I'm not quite sure why they decided to do. They also removed the power guard that allowed you to tank hits better or block rush supers at the expense of some ki. This maybe could have used some tweaking, but I actually liked it in BT2. Now you can guard rush supers with a regular guard for the first time in the series. Attack cancels were also removed, which definitely caps the skill ceiling on competitive play a bit. And dashing is a little harder to control, I found in this game, though still a lot better than the first game. I haven't covered absolutely everything that's been removed, so feel free to check out Jagger1407's Tenkaichi Rambles, where he breaks down the differences between all of the games. I'll link it down below. You get the gist though. There have been changes, and not only removals, but additions too. Tenkaichi 3 added a few new combo finishes that serve to spice up the gameplay. My personal favorite addition being the ability to end a dragon homing chain with a mini super attack when in max power mode. It's like every character gets their own unique little instant transmission attack. It's awesome. But there's a couple others that are also really cool that I'll show on the screen here. They also added 2 new defensive techniques to the game: Sonic Sway and Z counters. Both of which I always thought were so cool as a kid, but never knew how to do. And if you're getting your ass beat from the back and are struggling to defend yourself, you now have the ability to use an emergency blaster wave to sacrifice some health and stop the opponent's combo. Additionally, they now added the ability to Dragon Dash behind your opponent, as well as teleport battles. 2 things that definitely make the game feel more Dragon Ball-like. So those are some of the key things that have been added or removed from a combat perspective. But how does it feel to play? It's phenomenal. From a casual perspective, this game is buttloads of fun. Though I found myself missing some of the removed combat elements from the previous game, I also really enjoyed the new elements in this game. So there was a give and take there. I feel like we could have had everything from the previous game plus the new additions, but I digress. I do have a bone to pick with the tutorial section though. Not only does it seem a bit boring, there's no fun dialogue like in BT2, but they also barely ever have you practice what they teach you. So you have to read most of the tutorial instead of testing it out yourself. Really silly, and I don't know why they reverted to this after doing it so well in BT2. No wonder I never knew how to do Sonic Sway as a kid, because they never taught me properly. In terms of the characters' attacks, they once again upped the ante here, with almost every attack being a straight visual improvement, or just making attacks more personalized. They finally got rid of this teleporting attack from BT2 that every other goddamn character had, and replaced it with something more unique for most of them. I'm gonna do a mini short series on attacks that are better in BT2, because there's too few of them to make a video on, so stay tuned for that. The transformations generally made small improvements too. They made them a bit more unique. I'm using Frieza's transformations as an example here. They tweaked beam clashes so that now everything but finger beams will clash with each other. A needed change, though I kind of wish they kept finger beam clashes. And whilst beam struggles and clashes against the hardest difficulty in BT2 brought me close to needing shoulder surgery, I barely had to try in BT3. I just used my left thumb and won 99% of the time. They also heavily reduced the amount of beams you can charge here, so many fire automatically, which is a little disappointing, and the ones you can charge, you're invulnerable to melee attacks whilst charging them, which I'm also not a fan of, even if it is admittedly fun to fire a fully charged Kamehameha right in somebody's face. And then they seriously nerfed barrage attacks here, where they're so easy to dodge, and even when they do hit, half of the attacks seem to miss. Though they did add the gimmick of being able to completely wipe your opponent off the map after hitting them with certain ultimate attacks. That's really cool. Lastly, they changed the taunt from being a command to happening automatically after standing idle for a few seconds. Such a random change, and I don't like it. All in all though, I think from a casual perspective, which of course is what this game is designed for, Budokai Tenkaichi 3 adds a lot of positive changes combat-wise to the series, making it the most diverse in terms of built-in combos, and while some changes are missed, it still feels like peak Dragon Ball gaming when that controller is in your hand. Now let's discuss the Ultimate Battle Mode. They just kept upping the quality of the Ultimate Battle Mode in the series, as this third game has the best Ultimate Battle Mode of them all. In this iteration of Ultimate Battle, they have 17 and 18 in Dr. Giroux's lab, guiding you through 3 different game modes: Sim Dragon, Mission 100, and Survival Mode. Sim Dragon is a mode where you pick any character and enter a battle simulator where every 10 days you fight a different opponent for a total of 7 rounds. During the 10 days before you fight, you have 4 options to choose from. You can either train, explore the world, rest, or eat a senzu bean, and you can only choose 1 option per day. Training would piss me off way too often though. I swear I was only successful in increasing my character stats like 10% of the time. So I opted to explore most of the time. When you explore, you can find many things ranging from Bulma, who can build something for you and earn you Z points, Launch, who can rob some of your Z points, Mr. Popo, Korin, or King Kai, who you can train with via minigames to increase your offensive and defensive stats, and other random encounters of this sort that do enough to keep you engaged whilst playing the game mode. Mr. Popo's minigame jingle is an absolute bop, by the way. I was vibing to it so hard. And finally, the rest and senzu bean options just recover your health. No matter who you choose to play as, You always fight Cell from his first form to his super perfect form for fights 1, 3, 5, and 7. Then random characters for fights 2, 4, and 6. I genuinely love this mode. It's not a breakthrough in gaming by any means, but there's something so chill about it. As long as I don't take part in training and get pissed off when my stats go down the drain. It's just a vibe and it's not too long. You can finish an entire run in like 30 minutes, and especially if your stats aren't that high, it can be quite a challenge when you reach Super Perfect Cell. Whilst playing Sim Dragon, you can also get Bulma to unlock extra missions in Mission 100, which if you can't tell by the name has 100 fights included in it. My only complaint from Tenkaichi 2's Ultimate Battle Mode is that I wanted more fights and more difficulty. And Tenkaichi 3 sure delivered that. 100 battles, all with different themes, ranging from things like winged characters, to Frieza's family, to fused fighters, to plenty of random little combinations of characters. And the deeper you get into the mode, the tougher the fights get. As you can see, these are all my first attempts at the fights, and I go from getting mostly Z ranks to mostly A. Overall, a very fun time, and it was really fun making teams to counter who I was facing. There's hours of fun to be had in just this mode alone. And once you complete 30 of the missions there, you can unlock Survival Mode, of which there are 3 fights. Each of the fights lasts 50 rounds, with fighters from the specific theme appearing. Like with Bardock's War, it's basically Frieza's army, and the enemies keep repeating until Frieza finally reaches his 100% max power form. It's a fun cherry on top of the Ultimate Battle Mode. Your character recovers health after each opponent is defeated, and the fights get more difficult the deeper you go. Ultimate Battle Mode is definitely the best mode in the game for me, and clearly where they put their focus. Adding 2 new game modes, one very unique one, and unlike the story mode, it's all very polished and well done. And I want to throw this in at the end here because I personally couldn't test this because I played this on an emulator, and for some reason I never did it as a kid. But if you insert your Budokai Tenkaichi 1 or 2 discs in the disc fusion section, you can also play the Ultimate Battle modes from those games, albeit in the current game's menu. Such a cool feature and just adds even more value for loyal fans of the series. Now let's discuss the World Tournament mode. You know, I typically don't have much to say about World Tournament mode. I just say they did the job it's supposed to and it's fine. And overall, that's still the case here. But if you thought I ran out of bones to pick, I still got a closet full of skeletons, so buckle up. Okay, I'm not sure what that metaphor was, but anyways. World Tournament mode goes from having 3 tournaments in the previous game to 5 here, adding the other World Tournament and the Yamcha games to the already existing World Tournament, World Martial Arts Big Tournament, and Cell games. So they added more tournaments and more announcers. Well done. But then they took away the option of having 3, 4, or 5 round tournaments. Every tournament has 5 rounds to it. Why remove that option? I don't know. And whilst I like how every tournament has their own announcer before each fight, they remove the part where they say each contestant's name before the fights. And none of the announcers say a single thing anymore when you win a match. It's just silence. And when you win the whole tournament, the announcers are very lackluster in their congratulations.
Congratulations!
Thanks?
Congratulations! That is the championship! Please take your prize!
This may not mean much to most of you, but it's these little things in video games that add some flavor. And Tenkaichi 3 has flavor in some places, whilst lacking it in others that was present in the previous game, which is a little baffling. Like I said at the start though, the tournaments do their job. They all have their unique little differences, aside from Hercule's tournament and the other world tournament. I don't know what the difference is, to be honest. My personal favorite is the Yamcha games. Those of you who have watched my Sparking Zero videos know I love to use any and every character, and this tournament picks your character for you, which I find pretty fun. Now let's move on to the Dueling Mode. Tenkaichi 3 is most famous for having the most playable characters in any Dragon Ball game at the time, with a total of 97 characters spread across 161 forms, and a total of 23 maps spread across 35 different day and night cycles. This game is a sandbox dream. I remember making up scenarios in my head as a kid and playing through my own little what-if stories, or even just recreating fights from the show, which you're able to do for basically every single arc and movie. From Dragon Ball, to Z, to GT, to the movies, this game didn't exclude almost any character from the series. They even have a Raleigh. This is still to date my favorite character roster in any Dragon Ball game. Yes, I'm biased in that sense, I've pointed out enough flaws in the game, let me glaze it a little bit too. It deserves that for the hundreds of hours of fun this mode alone provided me. One thing I didn't mention in my Tenkaichi 2 retrospective, but I love in both of these games, is the art style for the characters in the select screen. It's just great. Kudos to the artist. Just like Tenkaichi 2, there's single player, split screen, and CPU battles, with either a 1v1 option, a team battle option where you can do anywhere up to 5v5, and a new DP battle option where you can build a team of anywhere up to 10, 15, or 20 destruction points. The stronger the character, the more destruction points they take up, which is just another fun little twist on the team battle option. They removed tag battles from this game, which were redundant anyways, as well as the logic system, which allowed you to make the AI fight either more key-based or melee-based, though that was never that great in the previous game, so I don't really mind. They have a total of 7 different announcers in the game for the fights, which I think is dope. Supreme Kai was always my favorite, and they added the ability to save your fights as replays and view them in the data center. Another great addition. Furthermore, they once again added a lot more unique dialogue interactions to this game, so it's fun to match up random characters to see what they might say to each other.
Your man's kinda cute.
Enough talk. Let's see what you've got.
In this game, CPU battles are actually fairly fun to watch. Sure, they may occasionally do stupid stuff like fly around the edge of the map until their key reaches 0, but for the most part, it's good. Now, throughout this series revisiting the Tenkaichi games, I've mentioned how the hardest difficulty isn't as hard as I'd like it to be, but I'm starting to realize maybe I'm better than I give myself credit for. So the CPU is sufficiently difficult for a casual player. I'm just built different. Jokes aside, if you truly want a challenge in this game, they've introduced a new type of password character to this game, which we call Red Patara characters. They're basically beefed up versions of characters with the strongest Z items equipped that they wouldn't normally be able to actually have all equipped at the same time. You can find their codes online and input them in the data center, with 14 slots available. This is such a cool new addition to the game, and can be quite a challenge to defeat when using normal characters. I tried to use Goku and Vegeta to defeat a Red Patara Metal Cooler army, and I didn't stand a chance. One of the most fun things to do in this game for me is to fuse 2 Red Patara characters into an absolutely broken fusion and just melt my opponent's health away. It's things like this that add to this game being the best Tenkaichi for a casual player, in my opinion. Truly a sandbox player's wet dream. One thing I don't like that they changed is the Z item system in this game. Firstly, they removed item fusion, where you could fuse Z items together to create a stronger item, or fuse purple Z items to unlock new characters. Now you unlock new characters by playing through the story and the world tournaments, which is fine. I just think they had such a cool character unlocking system already, and I'm disappointed that they decided to downgrade it to something so basic. They also removed character levels from the game, and capped how many Z items you could equip to each character by attaching a number to certain Z items. The higher the number, the more slots it uses up. And if you want to max out the amount of slots available, you have to spend Z points to upgrade each individual character. And if you want to do this for all the 98 characters, it's going to take you a long time to do so. I don't like this new system they've added. I like how they changed Z items so that when you own one, you can attach it to anybody. You don't need multiple of the same one. And I don't even mind having numbers attached to Z items, but making it a grind to be able to equip every character with Z items is unnecessary. That's just my opinion, maybe some will disagree, but I don't think this game needs to be a grind fest. It's already fun enough to play as is, and doesn't need to force me to replay story mode or ultimate battle mode just to grind for these Z points. They did add some Z items that I think are really cool, however, like how you can change the color of the aura for the characters. That's a really great touch. I know so many of us have equipped Super Saiyan aura to early Goku and pretended like he was a false Super Saiyan. Shout out to that dead transformation. Also, each Z item is split into blue, yellow, or orange types. The yellow can be used by any character, the orange only by good characters, and the blue only by bad characters. So Goku can equip Hatred of Saiyans that will make his ki rise rapidly. Only evil characters like a Broly can equip that. So the Z items themselves overall are better, it just prohibits you from equipping what you want to any character without grinding first. Also, you can't equip Z items from the character select screen. What's that about? Moving on, this game has the best character reference section of any game in the series. There's a bio for each character as always, you can view every costume for every character, and Chi-Chi also adds some colorful commentary for every character in the game. where you can quickly learn just how discriminatory she is against Super Saiyans.
It's that Super Saiyan I hate! Why did everyone in my family become so delinquent?
Now as for the overall presentation of the game, I do love the new menu screens. I prefer Tenkaichi 2's a bit more, but they're still good here. And the characters can say some fun stuff if you leave the screen idle for long enough.
Hey, think if I went Super Saiyan, my goatee would grow?
No, Nappa. I don't think it would. The soundtrack in this game is okay. There's some good songs in here to be sure, but I feel like there's not that much variety. They're all high-tempo rock songs for the most part. My personal favorite is Shine because it sounds a little different, but I guess music is subjective. For me though, it doesn't nearly reach the heights of Tenkaichi 2's soundtrack. But there you have it. I've covered everything this game has to offer. And even though I've listed many flaws and issues I have with it that I maybe glossed over when I was younger, I'll always love this game, and it'll always be one of my favorite games of all time. That will never change. I just didn't want to do a retrospective review on it and do nothing but glaze it because it's got such a special place in my heart. I want to be fair and point out the flaws as well as the bright spots. But with that being said, I already did a review on Sparking Zero the month after it came out, so go check that video out if you're following the series. Some things have changed with the game, but my overall opinion hasn't changed much. My opinion may have even soured a bit, to be honest. Though if you'd like me to do a ranking on every single game in the Sparking series, make sure to like this video and I'll know you want that. Subscribe so you don't miss that video's release, and I guess hit the bell too. I love you all, take it easy, and peace.